while, I started to watch the dojo. All of a sudden, I saw the greatest lesson I've ever learned. I don't care how many universities I went. I don't care who my great teachers were. Nothing was better than this experience. You know what I saw? It was marvelous. The guy named Michael Beretta, he's a senior in high school, was the instructor. I don't know if he had as many black belts as he wore, but he had a lot of things on him, you know. He was like the king. And he stood here, see, right here. And in the next line of competency were black belts. I don't know, there was 2 or 3 of them, and that was a very small line, but 2 or 3 of them. And then they went back, according to competency, and sorry, way back, you're like the beginners, way back there. You're the neophytes. And they were way back there. And so everybody had like degrees of excellence. And then when when he taught, he did this kind of, you know, this thing, bowing very gently and nice. But when he got to the black belts, he was extraordinarily demanding of them. Hey, they're black belts. You got to be good. So when he got to them, he was rigorous and demanding. And then as he moved back, as he always did, he got less and less demanding. But when he got back to the beginners, the neophytes at the real, and depending on age, no matter age, how their skill was, he said the most marvelous thing I ever heard. And then he said, hey, watch anything in front of you or anyone in front of you. They're all better. You are surrounded by a panorama of excellence. All you have to do is keep your eyes on anything you see and imitate it as best you can, and you're going to improve. Because the black belts here had Michael in front of him, and they watched him. These guys had the black belts, and way back had everyone. They were surrounded by this panorama of excellence. This is the best way to nudge the world forward. This is the best way to encourage people to get more extraordinary. And so they did that. Now watch. When I entered the seminary, I did not know how to pray. You know, I watched TV, I went to church, but I thought when you went to enter the priesthood, it was like, you know, like really like big time. But what happened to me in the seminary is the beginner, they put me in the first row in the chapel. They put me in the first row. The black belts, the priests and things, they were in the back row. All right? And then they put us by what they call vocational order, meaning when you came into the community, the beginners were here, and the second years were here, and the third years were here, and the fourth years were here. So when I was doing my thing, I went to the first row, and I just knelt down like this. I can't do it, but I said, I guess this is, oh, pray, good, just like the cards. All right, doing it good. Nothing in front of me. There's no example in front of me. I'm just saying, oh, I hope this is right. I bet you everybody's looking at me. All right. But as I stayed in the seminary and I moved back, guess what happened? When I got back, really back, I found out that the black belts, they were schneeling. They had their fannies half on the bench and half here. The black belts, the priests, were doing it worse than I was doing it because they were in the wrong position. They weren't being expected to be great. So they should have been up in the front row putting on the example, and I should have been in the back row with this panorama of example around me, giving me an opportunity to continually to get better at this thing called, you know, being in the seminary, all right? My point is, that's the role. The community has an obligation to somehow care for each other. And so when you asked me if I would speak tonight to this thing, in some ways I wanted to go home and sleep. I wanted to rest. I've been up a long time. But I said, no, I don't know if I'm a black belt. I don't think, maybe I am. I don't know, but I've been at this thing a long time. And so when you asked me to stand in front of you at the front of the class and to demonstrate my moves for you, you know, with the hope that maybe it could maybe make you more excellent, I said, hey, that's my responsibility. And for people who are seniors here, and people who are juniors here, and people who are first years here, my hope is, I see my friend here who's a first year student, and his friend John, they come down here. I'm just hoping that during your matriculation at Boston College, that you're going to have people around you who are unafraid to kind of set an example of good behavior for you, of good practice, of good ethics, so that you have an opportunity not only to become a good scholar, but to grow in your faith, to grow in your humanness, and to grow because we cared about each other. So my point is, when you're in the resident halls, or in your classrooms, or in your relationships, we have a responsibility of bringing out our best self. I'm going to tell you a very personal story now, and I'm going to end. When I was at Holy Cross, I used to be up there. I don't know if I should. You got the camera on me? Well, I didn't always. Sometimes my mouth can say bad words. Sometimes. I slip out. I mean, it wasn't like, and I know why I did it. Because for years, I was a good kid. Everybody used to say, he's a good kid, that Tony Penna, he's just a nice kid. Nothing wrong with that kid. Then one day, I slipped and I swore, and it felt fresh. I said, no, I'm not that good, see? I have this kind of a roughness to me. And I felt like I was liberated. Well, anyways. So I got in a bad habit of sometimes sounding like a sailor. And so one time, this Jim Belanca, who was a sophomore at Holy Cross, he came up to me and said this, Tony, don't take this wrong. A lot of us look up to you. We like you. We admire you. But when you swear, you cheapen yourself. We're hoping that you can not swear anymore because we expect more out of you, because we look up to you. And when you do that, it kind of disappoints us. I was so embarrassed because, I black belt, saying my moves weren't good. But he reminded me of the importance of caring for each other. And in faith and in this thing that we call values and all this stuff that we hold up as important, if we do it well together, we inspire each other. And don't be afraid to hold each other accountable for people who say they are this, to be this for the community's well-being. And so I remember Jimmy Belanca giving me my little nudge to be better at being who I should be. And I am grateful that he nudged me because I've never forgotten my responsibility to somehow try to set a kind of example for the community that I do love and care so much about, which is now you people.